The queen of the Roman Empire was kneeling in the filth of a dungeon floor, clutching the hand of a condemned slave, while her guards stood facing the wall, knowing that if they turned around, they would be executed before sunrise. Hey friends, welcome. I'm Marcus. Another incredible gladiator story for you today. This isn't just a story about blood and sand, it's about the cost of a human soul. Let me know where you're watching from and please hit that subscribe button. Let's get started. You have to understand that this image, Queen Alara, the most powerful woman in the known world, bowing before a man who was scheduled to die in the arena tomorrow, was an impossibility. A contradiction of nature. To understand how we got here, into the suffocating darkness of the black cells beneath the Colosseum, you have to go back 10 years. You have to imagine a city called Palmyra, the pearl of the desert. It was a place of white marble and hanging gardens, ruled by a king who valued books over swords. Alara was the princess then. She wasn't the cold, calculating monarch you know today. She was 18, wild, and in love. And the man she loved wasn't a king or a general. He was Kalen, the captain of the royal guard. Kalen was an orphan raised by the sword, a man who moved with the lethal grace of a desert panther. He and Alara had grown up together, stealing moments in the palace gardens, whispering promises that defied the laws of their caste. But then came the Roman legions. General Titus, a man whose ambition was only matched by his cruelty, laid siege to the city. The siege lasted 6 months. You can imagine the smell of burning cedar, the screams of the dying, the desperation. When the walls finally fell, Titus didn't just want the city, he wanted the lineage. He slaughtered the king and queen. He ordered the execution of the royal guard. And he took Alara as his prize, forcing her to marry him to legitimize his conquest. Kalen fought to the last man. He held the Golden Gate alone against 100 legionaries to buy Alara time to escape. But she was captured. And Kalen, bleeding from a dozen wounds, was dragged away in chains. Alara was told he died. She was told his body was thrown into the mass graves. Broken and defeated, she put on the mask of the obedient wife. She became Queen Alara of Rome, the jewel in Titus's crown, but Kalen didn't die. Rome doesn't waste muscle. He was sold to a slave trader, dragged to the northern borders, and thrown into the fighting pits. For 10 years, he lost his name. He lost his past. He became the nameless. A machine of destruction. He didn't fight for glory, he fought because he couldn't die. He was punishing himself for failing her. Every time he killed a man in the sands, he was killing a piece of his own soul. And now, for the emperor's triumph, the nameless had been brought to Rome. He was the main event. The monster to be slain. Now, picture the dungeon. It's midnight. The air is thick with the smell of mold, rust, and old blood. Kalen is hanging from his wrists in the center of the cell. His body is a roadmap of agony, scars on top of scars. He is asleep, or as close to sleep as a man in hell can get. Then, the heavy iron door creaks open. Kalen doesn't look up. He expects the torture master. Or maybe the priest to give him last rites before he faces the lions, but the footsteps are different. They are light. Silk rustles against the stone. A scent hits him, not blood, but jasmine and winter roses. It's a scent from a dead world. It's the scent of the Palmyra gardens. Unlock him, a voice commands. A voice that Kalen has heard in his dreams for 3,000 nights. Your Highness, the warden stammers, his voice trembling with terror. The emperor has given strict orders. This beast is dangerous. He killed 3 guards last week. Unlock him, Alara says, her voice like a whip. And then leave us. If you speak of this, I will have your eyes. The warden, shaking, unlocks the wrist shackles. Kalen drops to his knees, his muscles screaming. The warden flees, locking the outer door but leaving the 2 royal guards inside. Alara stands there. She is wearing a dark cloak over her royal gown. But the hood is pulled back. She looks older, harder, her face painted with the Roman style, but her eyes are the same. They are pools of sorrow. The two guards, loyal men of the Praetorian Guard, step forward. My queen, we cannot leave you unprotected. He is a monster, Elara turns to them. And this is the moment. This is the moment that could end her life. Turn around, she orders. My queen, turn around. Face the wall. Put your hands over your ears. Do not look. Do not listen. If you see what happens next, you will not live to see the sunrise. The authority in her voice is absolute. These men fear Titus, yes. But they fear the queen's whisper even more. Slowly. Reluctantly, they turn their backs. They face the cold stone. They are officially blind and deaf. Elara drops to her knees. She doesn't care about the mud. She doesn't care about the silk. She crawls the last few feet to where Kalen is kneeling. Kalen lifts his head. His hair is matted, his beard wild, his face swollen from the beatings. He looks at her, and for a moment, he thinks he has finally died. Elara, he croaks. His voice is like grinding gravel. He hasn't spoken a human name in years. I thought you were dead, she whispers, tears cutting tracks through her makeup. She reaches out and touches his scarred face. Her hands are shaking. They told me you burned. I did burn, Kalen rasps. This is what's left. I saw you, she says, her voice hurrying now, desperate. I saw you in the arena yesterday. The way you hold your shield. The way you look at the sky before the kill. I knew. My soul knew, you shouldn't be here. Kalen pulls away, ashamed of his filth, ashamed of his failure. Titus, if he finds you, Titus is a fool, she hisses. He thinks he owns me. He owns nothing. She reaches into her cloak. She pulls out something wrapped in velvet. She unwraps it. It glitters in the torchlight. It is a dagger. But not just any dagger. It is the Serpent of the East. The blade Kalen carried when he was captain. The blade that was taken from him the day the city fell. How? Kalen breathes. I stole it from his trophy room, Elara says. She presses the hilt into Kalen's hand. You need it, for what? Kalen looks at the weapon. I am to die tomorrow, Elara. I am fighting the Colossus. It is an execution, not a match. No, she says, gripping his hands tight. You cannot die. You have to win. You have to survive. Why? Kalen asks, a bitter laugh escaping his lips. What is there to live for? My city is ash. My honor is gone. I am a slave. Elara looks at the guards' backs. She leans in close, her lips brushing Kalen's ear. Because you are a father, the world stops. The dripping water, the rustling rats, the beating of his own heart, it all stops. Kalen stares at her. What? 10 years ago, she whispers. I was with child. When the city fell, I was 2 months pregnant. I hid it. I told Titus it was his. I told him the stress of the war made the baby come early. Kalen is paralyzed. A child? My child, a son, Elara says, tears flowing freely now. His name is Lucius. He is 9 years old. He has your eyes, Kalen. He has your temper. And Titus. Titus knows, he suspects, she corrects herself. He hates the boy. He calls him a mongrel. Yesterday, Titus told me he plans to send Lucius to the front lines in Germania. As a drummer boy. He wants him to die, Kalen. He wants to kill your son because he sees you in him every day. A rage, hotter than any fire, ignites in Kalen's chest. It burns away the exhaustion. It burns away the hopelessness. A son. He has a son, I can't save him alone, Elara pleads. I have power, but I have no sword. I need you. Win tomorrow. Win the freedom the crowd will demand. If you win the grand games, the emperor must grant a boon. Ask for the boy. Ask for Lucius as your servant. Just get him out of the palace, and if I fail? Kaelin asks. His grip tightening on the dagger, then we all die, she says simply. Lucius. Me. You. Suddenly, a heavy thud echoes from the corridor above. The sound of a boot hitting a door. Then voices. Not the warden. These are deeper. More authoritative, Praetorians. One of the guards at the wall hisses, not turning around. My queen. Someone is coming. We must leave. Now, Elara stands up. She pulls her hood up. She looks at Kaelin one last time. Hide the blade, she commands. Use it when the time is right. And Kaelin, she touches his hand, don't let our son die, she spins around. Guards. Escort me, the guards turn, relief washing over them. They flank the queen and rush her toward the door. Kaelin is left alone in the darkness. He quickly buries the dagger in the loose dirt under his straw mat. He falls back into his chains, hanging his head. The door slams open. It isn't the Praetorians. It is Emperor Titus himself. He walks in, wearing his purple robes, holding a goblet of wine. He looks around the cell, sniffing the air. He frowns. It smells like flowers in here, Titus mutters, looking at Kaelin with suspicion. Who has been here, slave? Kaelin looks up. For the first time in 10 years, there is life in his eyes. There is a predator looking back at the emperor. Kaelin doesn't speak. He can't risk it. He just stares. Titus laughs, a cruel, drunk sound. Enjoy your last night, filth. Tomorrow, the Colossus will tear your head off. And I will make my son watch. It will be a good lesson for him. Titus turns and leaves, the heavy door clanging shut, sealing Kaelin in the dark once more, but the darkness feels different now. It isn't a tomb anymore. It is a forge. Kaelin closes his hand into a fist. He feels the phantom weight of the dagger under the dirt. He thinks of the boy he has never seen. Lucius, you made a mistake, Titus, Kaelin whispers to the empty room, his voice raspy but steady. You didn't kill the wolf. You just woke him up. The wooden shield exploded into 1,000 splinters, sending shards flying into the crowd like shrapnel, leaving Kaelin with nothing but his bare hands and a secret hidden in his loincloth that could save his son or kill them both. You have to understand the sheer scale of the mismatch. The Colossus was not a man, he was a biological experiment gone wrong. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, with skin as thick as cured leather and a club studded with iron spikes, he was the emperor's favorite executioner. He didn't just defeat opponents, he erased them. Kaelin, on the other hand, was starving. He was exhausted from the torture. He was half the size of the giant. But Kaelin had something the Colossus didn't. He had a target. Before the fight began, Kaelin had scanned the imperial box. He ignored Titus, who was eating grapes and laughing. He ignored Elara, who was gripping the railing so hard her knuckles were white. He found the boy. Lucius. He was small for 9 years old, sitting on a velvet cushion, looking bored and terrified. He had dark curly hair and eyes that were fiercely intelligent. Kaelin felt a jolt of electricity hit his heart. That was him. That was the blood of Palmyra. That was the future. The horn blew. The Colossus didn't run. He walked. He knew the outcome. He swung his club in a lazy arc, expecting Kaelin to be crushed instantly. Kaelin rolled. He was fast, faster than a starving man had any right to be. He dodged the club, but the shockwave of it hitting the sand rattled his teeth. Kaelin tried to get inside the giant's guard, punching the Colossus in the kidney. It was like punching a stone wall. The Colossus just laughed. He backhanded Kaelin, sending him flying across the arena. Kaelin hit the ground hard. The world spun. Blood filled his mouth. Get up, filth. Titus screamed from the box. Die standing up, Kalen scrambled to his feet just as the club came down again. This time, it clipped his shoulder. The pain was blinding. Kalen stumbled, his legs giving out. He fell onto his back. The colossus loomed over him, raising the club for the killing blow. This was it. The moment of execution. The crowd went silent. They wanted blood, but even they felt the cruelty of this mismatch. In that split second, Kalen looked up at the box. He saw Lucius. The boy wasn't looking away. He was leaning forward. And for a second, their eyes locked. Kalen saw the fear in his son's face. He saw the expectation of death. No, Kalen thought. He will not watch me die. He will watch me win. As the club came down, Kalen didn't roll away. He moved toward the danger. He slid between the giant's legs. It was a suicidal move, insane. The club smashed into the sand where Kalen's head had been a microsecond before. Kalen was now behind the giant. He reached into his waistband. His hand closed around the dragonbone hilt of the serpent of the east. He drew the dagger. The steel flashed in the sun. Illegal? Yes. A gladiator is only allowed the weapons given to him. But Kalen wasn't a gladiator anymore. He was an assassin. He jumped. He didn't aim for the back or the legs. He aimed for the one weak spot on every giant. The back of the knee, where the tendons are thick as ropes. Kalen slashed. The Damascus steel, sharp enough to cut silk in midair, severed the hamstring in one clean stroke. The colossus roared, a sound of pure shock and agony. His leg buckled. The mountain came crashing down. The giant fell to one knee, bringing his head level with Kalen. Kalen didn't hesitate. He dropped the dagger, he couldn't be seen using it for the kill, and grabbed the giant's own club from the sand. With a scream that contained 10 years of slavery, 10 years of loss, and a lifetime of rage, Kalen swung the club. It connected with the side of the colossus's helmet. The sound was like a bell tolling for the dead. The giant collapsed face first into the dirt and didn't move. Silence. Absolute silence. The nameless slave had just knocked out the invincible colossus. Kalen stood there, chest heaving, blood dripping from his shoulder. He dropped the club. He looked up at the box. The crowd exploded. Victor! 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 The chant was deafening. They loved an underdog. They loved a miracle. Titus stood up, furious. He threw his wine goblet to the floor. This wasn't the script. The slave was supposed to be paced. But the laws of the arena were sacred. Even an emperor couldn't ignore the mob when they were this loud. Titus had to go through the motions. He walked to the railing, his face purple with rage. "You live, slave," Titus spat, his voice amplified by the acoustics of the stadium. "By the laws of the triumph, the victor is granted a boon. Speak quickly, so I can send you back to your cage." This was the moment Alara had prepared him for. The trap. Kalen walked to the center of the arena. He looked small in the vastness of the sand. He looked directly at Titus, then shifted his gaze to the boy. "Lucius, I do not ask for gold," Kalen shouted, his voice raspy but clear. "I do not ask for freedom. A man with no home has no use for freedom." The crowd quieted down. What did he want? "I ask for a servant." Kalen bellowed. "I am wounded. I am weary. If I am to fight for you again, Emperor, I need someone to carry my water. Someone to wash my armor. Someone to learn the art of death from a master." Titus sneered. "Take any slave from the pits." "I don't care." "No," Kalen said, pointing a shaking finger at the royal box. He wasn't pointing at Titus. He was pointing at the boy. "I want him," the entire stadium gasped. A slave asking for a prince? It was madness. It was a death sentence. "You dare!" Titus shrieked, gripping his sword. "You dare ask for the royal heir? You called him a mongrel." Kalen shouted back, gambling everything on what Alara had told him. You said he was weak. You said he needed to be toughened up for the legions. What better teacher than the man who just killed your giant? Titus froze. The crowd began to murmur. They knew the rumors. They knew Titus hated the boy. And in a twisted way, Kalen's request made sense. It was an insult to the boy, treating him like a servant. It was exactly the kind of cruelty Titus might enjoy. Titus looked at Lucius. He looked at the boy he despised, the boy who reminded him too much of the enemy. A wicked smile spread across the emperor's face. He saw a chance to humiliate the boy and punish the slave at the same time. Let the prince serve the filth. It would break the boy's spirit. You want the whelp? Titus laughed, a cruel, high-pitched sound. Fine. Take him. He is useless to me anyway. Let him wash your feet, slave. Let him learn his place. Alara let out a breath she had been holding for an eternity. She didn't smile. She didn't react. She played the part of the stony queen. But under her robes, her hands were trembling. The guards pushed Lucius forward. The boy was terrified. He looked at his father, the emperor, who was laughing at him. He looked at his mother, who gave him a barely perceptible nod. Lucius walked down the stairs. He walked out onto the sand. He was wearing royal purple. But he looked so small next to the blood-soaked gladiator. Kalen waited. When the boy reached him, Kalen didn't bow. He didn't act like a servant. He dropped to one knee, bringing himself to the boy's eye level. Do not be afraid, Kalen whispered, so only Lucius could hear. I knew your mother. I knew the gardens. Lucius's eyes went wide. He knew the stories. His mother had whispered them to him as bedtime tales. The gardens of Palmyra, are you? Lucius started to whisper. I am your guardian, Kalen said, standing up and placing a heavy hand on the boy's shoulder. He looked up at Titus. I accept the boon. The crowd cheered. They thought they were seeing a humiliation. They didn't know they were seeing a reunion. Kalen led the boy toward the gate of life. As they walked into the tunnel, away from the sun, away from the emperor's gaze, Kalen felt the boy's small hand slip into his rough, scarred palm. What do we do now? Lucius asked, his voice trembling. Kalen looked at the dark tunnel ahead. He touched the hidden dagger in his waistband. Now, Kalen said, we burn it all down.